Good evening, welcome to this week's 66 Think Tank. This week we're going to be looking at the alignment of stars. We're looking at anything for any setting, but what role stars, eclipses and space takes. I'm losing my voice a bit today, I'm afraid. I'd like to remind you all, if you're interested in these videos, please subscribe, and I'll hand you to Chris for the check-ins.
Thank you, Emily. So, check-ins, this is a bit of the meeting where we just find out how our week's been and, try and put a human face on, well, us humans. So, I'm going to start on my right, which is with Alex. So, Alex, how's your week been?
Freezing. We have no heating at work, so that's been great fun, especially since we now run out of gas because we've sold it all to customers, so we can't actually keep our heaters going. So it's been cold. It's been a little bit made us all a little bit grouchy in the office, but anyway, we're struggling on.
Well, that's good, and I suppose it's not an oversight selling all your gas to customers. That is sort of like what you're there for, really. So, Pat, how's your week been, Pat?
Mine's been pretty good. I've had one of those weeks where, although I have been working quite a lot, the way that it's fallen has meant I've actually gotten a couple of days off in a row, so I saw some friends I hadn't seen for a while, and we've done a little bit of tidying up in the house. Yeah. There's other stuff we can't really talk about that yet.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's good to have a couple of days off and actually catch up with friends and do some domestic stuff. It's necessary every now and again. Mark, how's your week?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I've been having a busy week, just catching up with things at work and getting all the little fires put out, so I'm actually going to start doing some research again. But otherwise, okay. Running a bit of Pathfinder this weekend. Should be quite a lot of fun to catch up with that and finish that off.
Well, okay, yeah, another person who's had a busy week. And Emily, how's your week been? Has it been busy?
I wish it could have been busy. It's been a very odd week. I was off work a few days with some sort of bug and just been very tired, very sick. But yeah, I've managed to get some watercolours done this week for 66 Lovecraft. And a few little bits and bobs as well, and make an insane amount of Easter crafts for our shop's window display.
That sounds fun, and I saw some of the the paintings you did, and also some nice outline things you did as well. They're very good. They're on the 66 feed somewhere if you go and find them. Finally, my week. Yeah, a bit of an odd week. I've been in full-time work, a proper 9 to 5 job for the first time in 15 years, and I have to say that working for a living is overrated. But plus side is it's a fairly straightforward job. It's not too taxing, which means I've got energy and time left when I get home to do some 66 stuff. So I've been getting on with some of the preparation work for the 66 Hellenic Kickstarter, which will be April-ish, we hope. So yeah, good progress, good week, job's okay, so not all too bad. So I think we are all checked in, so I'm going to hand over to Pat to take us on to the main body of the week. Pat.
Hello, I'm Pat, who forgot to unmute my microphone. Today, as Emily said, we're talking about an alignment of stars, which is games or ideas revolving around the idea of fortunes and stars affecting events on Earth, I guess, or on any planet. And first of all, we're going to talk about Mark's idea, which is the stellar door. So, Mark, if you could take us through the stellar door, also known as SD-1. What does SD-1 mean?
It's not a Stargate at all. It's a stellar door. So the people who do this are called SG1. They're called SD1. Yeah. So the whole idea here, we've taken against fantasy world, so gone for the magical kind of thing. But the general idea is planetary alignments can channel magical energy, and with certain alignments can take place, that allows the most powerful spell the civilization has, which is essentially supernormal flight. They can then teleport faster than light between planets. So once they'd worked out how to do this with the right combination of stone circles and timing, they were able to use that to actually form the basis of a space program. So with that, they were then start teleporting out to other planets in their system, other moons in their system, and to begin with as like short trips. They got like a 12-hour window based on the alignment, so they could do manned missions out to places. But after a while, they were able to build up colonies on these other worlds, and then start drawing the magical energy together of that. And the game kind of opens with, or this setting kind of opens, where they've built colonies and stone circles on those worlds, and with enough of them together in the right alignment, they're about to attempt a jump to the next system. So collecting together the magic of all, say, 8 planets in the solar system, they're able to kind of do a straight jump out to somewhere else. So you've got this kind of magical planet hopping kind of thing. So like the Stargate SG-1 series, but not because it's got wizards in it. So that's essentially what they're trying to do there. Now they reckon it should be kind of a short jump, so they can do like the little hops back and forth. So it kind of gives you a way of doing a magical setting, but be able to kind of jump out to other worlds and really throw together all kinds of things.
I'm going to just jump in there, sorry, because we've got a couple of pings, and I do have my own question. We'll go with Alex. Different star positions affect magic.
It's basically sort of saying if this is based on the way the stars and planets align on the particular planet they're starting on, how does being on a different planet affect this magic based on the alignment of the stars? Because the alignment's going to be different if they're in a different section of the system. Yeah,
and so that's a good way of doing it. So that kind of gives you different combinations of how you can hop from place to place. So you're not looking for the straight line with them all planets in a line. You're looking for certain shapes, and what you can do depends on where you are on that shape on your particular planet. So going to different places allows you to then kind of leapfrog and then work your way around the place, which means from a plot perspective, that's quite a handy thing. It's a good idea because from a plot perspective, you can give people, you can trap people. So say, okay, well, you can go back, but the next alignment actually takes you to here. If you can go to there, then you have to work out, go to there, to there, to there, and then you can go home.
That's actually quite interesting. Just on what Alex said, because in Mostly Harmless, there's the idea that yes, stellar events affect things on Earth, but Earth's position affects things on Pluto, and in the end they destroy Earth, so they have a better week. Chris has asked a question, actually one that I was going to ask as well. If you have to wait for an alignment, does that mean it's almost like conventional space travel in that you have to wait until the planets are in a specific position? How often can it happen?
Yeah, good question. It's kind of how you decide that really depends on how you want to build the setting for whether you want each colony to be really quite isolated. So like it would be in a real space travel where it takes years to get from planet to planet, do you have to wait years for an alignment to happen for you to be able to move about the place? Or do you want everything to be kind of quite easy, hopping back and forth? I like the idea of actually being a little bit more isolated because it sort of sets what you can do. But put in more combinations. So it'll be years to be able to go from, say, Earth to Mars and then Mars to Earth. Mars to Earth. But if you want to go from Mars to somewhere else to somewhere else to somewhere else, then you could do that a bit more quickly, assuming that there's a route. And assuming you can get to the circles all the time, things like that.
Chris is asking if air passes through it like an open window, and Alex, in a kind of similar vein, is asking about magical spacesuits.
I think magic spacesuits are a brilliant idea. Somewhere between spacesuits and the wizard's robes.
Is a space
so there's probably some fun artwork to be had designing that. Sorry, Pat?
I was just thinking, is a spacesuit required if you're travelling from planet to planet directly?
Depends on whether the planets you land on have an atmosphere. Because if they don't, then you will need to have some kind of suit or air supply to survive. So you can take various incantations and charms with you. So you have quite a sort of a lightweight suit. It's actually it's not a suit like we wear layers of material. It's actually layers of spells which you can sort of put together. And I guess that kind of leads on to Chris's question of does air pass through? Because obviously just open a portal onto an airless planet and suddenly the atmosphere starts leaking through onto Mars. Yeah, good question. You could do it that way. And it kind of adds a bit more complication that to actually using the planet hopping. Because I was thinking more of a teleportation. You put a bunch of people in there, you select them and their stuff as the people who teleport, and they go off in the usual kind of upwards going column of light.
That's sort of fun. It's bizarre, actually. This did trigger something in my brain. Something I'd read somewhere. Somebody had done a role-playing game. I think it was a Savage Worlds game, which was Stargate but steampunk.
Is Magic Stargate pretty much?
Yeah, Magipunk Stargate. Also, I obviously can't tell the difference between a hyphen and a minus sign. Alex is asking about vehicles. Would you have to drive vehicles through your space gate, or would you just step through?
I was thinking what to deal with your sort of airless world. I think if you have something like First Man in the Moon style sphere thing they go in, jump that whole thing there, and then they can determine if they can breathe it, if they need to put their magical spacesuits on or not. Just give them sort of an encounter pod just to minimize them just asphyxiating the minute they walk through.
I suppose you can take stuff through. So you want to take a little vehicle through, you can, or you take a couple of horses with the stuff on them. Then sort of take some pack donkeys onto Mars with you, and you can select them, take them with the spell. Or the other thought I was, you go through and you take your broomsticks with you, so you can hopefully for the other side you can do some flying about whilst you're there. Okay, that's pretty much all I've got so far for this idea.
I can't any further questions, so we'll go on to Jay. No, Jay isn't here. Emily, you were talking about the last. Alex, sorry, I was going down the
list. Yeah. Look, follow the running order. Okay.
Alex is fine. We'll go on to Alex and his Eye of God. Tell us about the Eye of God, Alex.
So to put it on the world of Jaros, people live under the light of two moons. As they dance across the sky, they will converge many times. When they meet in front of the luminosity of a nearby nebula, it appears as if a great eye is looking down upon the world. When the Eye of God is looking down on the people of Jaros, a religious fervour sweeps across the lands, whether it is joyous revelry or pious penitence or even declarations of crusades. The different cultures react to the holy sign. Is it truly the Eye of God looking at its faithful? It seems as if the holy magic is stronger during the confluence, and if gods survive on praise, a fanatic increase in religious activity would definitely feed them well. It seems that the convergence is appearing more frequently, though no one's sure how this could be happening. The natural dance of the spheres can't speed up, can it? Or if God is hungry for praise, is it getting hungrier? Or maybe just gluttonous? Or is all that faith feeding something else? Strengthening something that should not be? So we've got, for the using it in a game, we can have is are the players pious followers of their God or non-believers? Are they clerics on a grand crusade initiated under the Eye of God? Are they noticing the increase, or are they seeing signs that the Eye of God is not quite what it seems? If nothing else, are they in a strange and foreign land with strange and foreign customs as the Eye of God turns upon the world?
That's quite an interesting idea. I like the idea of being somewhere else when a big religious festival you don't really understand is about to happen. That's always a bit weird. Yeah, so does anyone have any thoughts on the Eye of God? Chris?
Yeah, I like the idea of the sort of crusades, because you've got these eyes of God looking down, and there's going to be, different cultures, different nations are going to see the same event but interpret them differently. So, you're going to be having, people going to war over, which interpretation of the Eye of God is right. Is it the eye of, the God A or the eye of God B who's looking down? And so I like that. But I also like the idea that if you're looking down, if God's looking down, the idea that God's looking down on you, you become more pious. You become more aware of it, and so the society gets a bit stricter during those periods. So yeah, I really like that. I could see lots of that one basic idea. There's lots of ways you could spin it.
Well, that's a conundrum that's posed by pretty much every fantasy world. and a hand waved. Is the idea, if gods are real, then why are there anybody who isn't a cleric, kind of thing, you know? Oh, Mark's pinging. Mark, you were talking about setting a regular clock to the path of history?
Yeah, so kind of the historical events in the real world, they happen as reactions to things because everyone kind of acts and reacts at the same time. But thinking with this thing, with this Eye of God sort of event, then it creates kind of an auspicious time when decisions are made and things are done. The Crusades have started. So it's kind of like regular ticking clock on history. So everyone kind of really waits for this thing, not necessarily for the religious connotations, but the political connotations. So, right, so everyone trying to work out what's happening, what people are going to then decide to do by the time the next clock ticks. So it sets a real beat to how things are done.
Yeah, but also
all the time. So things where you have to spoil people before the next clock ticks, before the next eye happens.
So if you set that up and then you have sort of plot hook of it's speeding up, it's happening more frequently, then you've got all these sort of things that are starting to fall apart because people aren't having as much time as they had. They start tripping over themselves. They cut start. Everything is falling apart a little bit because it's happening so often.
And I think from a kind of a writing perspective, it means that you've got this thing where if you want to have a big cataclysm in your game where everything changes and the whole world shifts, you go, okay, well, tick, there you go, there was another eye, and everyone decided to do this. We can be very good for a long-running campaign, so you can go through several ticks.
There's an interesting idea there. What if things aren't happening according to your countdown? Not just that it's speeding up, because that's an observable thing, but just this is started to happen at random points. Our countdown isn't in. I think we could go about all that, but I think Chris had a question.
Yeah, there was something Mark actually just touched on is about the you've got this regular beat and it's counting down. You can do a long-running campaign, so actually the characters you only adventure during this particular bit. So you could do sort of something over 10 years if this event happens every year, say, and and actually do a long-scale campaign, or at least long-term for the characters. But then I also thought, well, if it's speeding up, then at some point it's going to just be all the time, or there's going to be the final one. So actually doing the last 10 ticks would be really, really interesting, with a really definite sort of, well, we know something's going to happen. Clearly something must happen when it gets to, happening every day. But what is that? So I thought that'd be an interesting framework for a campaign.
Emily's asking about radiation.
Yeah, I just had a thought. What if, thinking of a scientific mind, what if the nebula is something that is irradiating? It's getting closer, things get more frequent, and the actual radiation is causing people's frantic hyper moods. So when people think there's a frenzy going on, that everything is great when this happens, it is something that is slowly possibly killing the world and slowly killing the peoples.
Yeah, you also have, if you want to do it as a fantasy campaign, you've got this radiation is what's causing the magic. And so as this keeps happening, it gets more and more frequent, more and more magic's coming up until you sort of get just sort of, apocalyptic level of everybody's throwing fireballs around at every opportunity.
So I like the idea of it just increasing magic as it goes up as well, because that's kind of scary. To the point that peasants can just fire fireballs and things like that. We're going to move on to the next one in the list now, which is it is Emily. Emily, you were going to talk about the last eclipse, and I was there for the last eclipse. I was very, very young. What happened at the last eclipse, Emily?
It was. I haven't gone into much detail as everyone else because I kind of saw everyone else's and was like, I can't think of anything. The idea I had was an open kind of campaign idea for any setting where
I think we might have just lost Derby. Since both of the Derby people have frozen. Pat M, are
The
you
great
there?
beyond it. Oh, hello.
So you seem to have dropped out, so you might want to start
Oh,
again.
right, okay. Yeah, my idea is a very short and sweet one. It's more of an idea for a possible kind of campaign setting. An eclipse is about to fall on the world, and the players have been told that it's going to bring about the end of the world. It's rumoured a great evil lies beyond, and it's going to come forth and destroy everything. And the idea is that the players have to find a way to stop this dreaded event, or if all fails, stop what's beyond it, or try to find a way to escape it. So I just left it quite open for any kind of fantasy or even a scientific setting, where you know the end is coming, it will come at the eclipse, and what do you do? What do your players do to stop it?
That's really cool. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened. I had a bit of a glitch in my system, and I didn't hear like the first 30 seconds of that. But I caught the end, and I've read the little book. So yeah, does anyone have any questions about that? Oh, Chris, you pinged.
Yes, I just like the idea that it's a definite end, and actually, role-playing that would be really interesting. What do you do if you really know the world's going to end? Is it, and there's not going to be sort of like, it's just like world's here one moment, gone the next. So there's no sort of like think nothing to survive for a while. It's just go. So, do the players sort of like go out and rob banks, or or try and do exciting things to get the time, or you could do a really, a story-driven relationship-based game where you just try and get with the person you want to be with on the last night. That could be a intense character game. So I quite like that idea. I like definite. It's all going to end.
Alex has got an idea.
Well, it's just more just a comment of, if you've got this eclipse, can the players stop it? Which I think the assumption has already been no. That there's nothing you can do, and it's just going to get a bit. This is just the end.
Because it depends on your setting. Like if you were doing a fantasy campaign, it could possibly be a spell, or if something is coming through on the other side, it could be the big Cthulhu that you could possibly beat. Or your aim is to possibly go, leave the world, we'll just move to another plane. We'll find another world. We'll just try to escape it.
It could even be a Kickstarter to a campaign. Or it could merge with Mark's idea, and you've got a certain amount of time to get the spell right to hop off your planet before it gets destroyed. Chris, you've pinged Second Coming.
Yes, it just suddenly occurred to me that while you can have the end of the world definite, but you could, if you know it's also going to be the second coming or something other than religious, gods are going to turn up and judge you. Well, actually, the players are desperately trying to do good things, and actually sort of play with the whole basis of the idea of a role-playing game, where players have to go out, characters have to go out and be nice to people, and you get experience points for helping kittens down from trees and whatever else your religion tells you to do.
Players being useful and handy.
Well, the cool thing about that is fantasy worlds don't always have good gods. If everybody's there going, oh, we've got to do what our god tells us, so are the drow and the kobolds or whatever, and their gods tell them go out and enslave and destroy all the humans, or whatever. So you're running around trying to do pious acts of good, and at the same time, some people might not be. Anyway, little birdie in my ear is telling me to move on to the next one. Now, the next one hasn't actually, its author hasn't put his name down because he's a little bit stupid, but I'm sure that he's blonde and has a beard and is quite good looking. So, it's Futures Inc. In the distant future, humankind discovers that all that astrology stuff that people do. They're going, oh look, Cyrus is Orion is rising in Aquarius. That means you're going to have a good week this week. It's all true. It all works. Astrology all works. And what's more, you can affect events on Earth by moving stars around. So what they have is a big, basically, corporation which has huge spaceships that move stars around. And you play as these guys whose job is to make people's horoscopes a little bit nicer. In the meantime, you've got to deal with things like the like other corporations who have other clients who want their weeks to be a bit nicer, and the natives, if any, of planets orbiting these stars who maybe don't want to have their planet pushed out of orbit so that somebody somewhere can have a nicer day. Alex, you're mentioning a link to Mark's idea.
Yeah, just sort of if you've they're both sort of ideas where astrology is true. I mean, I was going to put a thing up here. One of you have your astrological scientists. You've got certain stars. I think there's Cancer, route to Mars, and Libra. But you could almost run those two simultaneously. So if you've got using them for travel and using them for improving your day.
Stick them all together, so an eclipse comes and ends the world because of the eye of God, and then they have to go off into the sky and move planets around. Em, you've pinged corporate space warfare? Always
well,
fun.
I was just thinking, Future Inc., is it the only company that's moving stars for people? Because if people are paying you big bucks to basically make their week a bit better, what if there's another company also doing the same service, and you're the stars you're trying to move, they want it in the other direction. So do you have to try and beat it there first, or are you going to have some sort of war thing?
I did actually mention something like that when I was saying before that, you had to deal with other corporations who want stars moved as well. But it's nice to reiterate. Chris, you're asking about black holes. I'm assuming if you're flying through space, a black hole is always kind of a problem.
No, I was just thinking of a logical conclusion. If astrology is real, if the stars make a difference, then surely black holes do. But we've never incorporated it in our thinking because you can't see them. So actually, you sort of it's not just moving planets around. Maybe you've got to go and plug black holes, or you're going to move black holes around. So you can actually mess around with the whole concept of what is astrology and follow it through logically.
Well, that's actually quite interesting because I hadn't thought of this, but theoretically, if you're moving stars around, probably one of the easiest ways to do it would be to kind of set black holes to drag stuff around for you, I'd imagine. I mean, I know nothing about stellar physics to the extent of moving them, and I don't think anybody on Earth actually knows how to move a star. I'd be very surprised if it's something that the guy sitting in his basement somewhere is going, but Alex is asking about new star signs, and that sounds really interesting. I like that idea. So tell us about your new star signs.
Yeah, just more if it's kind of it's more just where the planets are in the sky or the stars in the sky that affect it. Are the star signs are they essential to it, or can you rearrange them into a different sign to cause a different effect?
You mean like rather than dragging Orion across the sky, it might just be easier to move some space into an Orion-like configuration and hope that works?
Yeah, something like that. Or instead of Orion, let's move in, instead of Orion the Hunter, we'll just change it into, we've got, I don't know, the car star sign, which means that there are no traffic jams today or something.
That's, yeah. That's sneaky. So the other corporation's waiting for you to move something, you're just moving other stars. Chris, you're asking about corporate advertising.
Yes, I was just sort of taking on from Alex's idea, and I thought, well, if you can make new star signs, well, why not make one in the shape of the Adidas logo or whatever else? And does it mean that if you're wearing Adidas garments, your day gets better, or does the star sign work on the Adidas Corporation and it prospers well? So it was just a logical conclusion of making new star signs.
It's actually quite interesting. I don't know if any of you have read the novelization of Red Dwarf, but in the novelization of Red Dwarf, the ship that they find Crichton on, its mission is actually to start supernovas, hence the name Nova 2, and they want to create enough supernovas so that in the night sky on Earth will be spelled the words "Coke brings life." Yeah, it's that kind of idea. We're going to go on now to. Although actually, Alex was quite amusing. That's quite funny. If you put like a Nike logo, people on Earth will run faster. That's quite funny. But we're going to go on to Chris's idea now, blood sacrifice. So, Chris, tell us about your blood sacrifice. Wait, sorry, is it Jay now?
Yes,
Sorry,
yes. This week, after last week's failure of technology, where we left everyone sitting there for 2 minutes while we sat here and watched a video, hopefully this time we will successfully play Jay's video so everyone watching can see it. So bear with me, because this involves sharing a screen. Hang on, let me make sure I've got the right screen set up. There we go. Okay, and so if I do that and press that button, and then
I'm not getting any sound.
okay, let me. Did anyone get any sound there? Okay, well let's try that one again. I'll just rack up the volume.
Good evening, 66ers, and I'd like to welcome you to my little contribution for tonight's think tank on the topic of the alignment of stars. So I want to talk to you about the night of the three moons. The world of calm, humanity has only just discovered agriculture. Clustered into little villages in a steep-sided river valleys, these are hardy people who rely heavily on hunting and gathering. They know nothing of the heavens, and the doom will bring down upon them. We see Kant has three large moons, and on this night they align. The gravitational pull on the planet below will create a tide of the Earth, a massive moving tremor that sweeps around the planet as it rotates. The ground will shake, the waters will rise, and the winds will blow. The players are the inhabitants of a small fishing village near the coast. Should they survive the night of the three moons, they'll need to get out of the river valley, and the river mouth they're in, before the volcano deliver the fertile shadow of erupts. And no one said the grass on the other side, i.e. the place they will be escaping to, was safe. So that's me. Basically, I've taken a tribe of not quite beyond cavemen and thrown every natural disaster I can think of at them. Mostly because I just kind of want to see what happens. Right, that's my contribution to this evening, guys. I will see you all next week and look forward to watching your ideas.
Thank you, Jay. Does anyone have any questions for past Jay?
well, I think he's a complete bastard. So basically, as far as I can tell, his plan is to just shit on his players and just make life as hard as possible for them.
We all know a GM like that. One of them is me. Right, I think, Emily, you've pinged?
Yes, it's just I
You're
really
muted.
like that idea. Oh, no. I really like that idea because you can really throw whatever you want at your players. And one little twist on it is they leave their land to escape, and they're very low technological culture. They are, just I can't say the word. They're learning how to farm. But if they leave their area, they could find a culture that is much more advanced than them. There's so much stuff you can throw at your players if they survive the Night of the Three Moons.
So, like, basically, you've got a bunch of cavemen, and they walk out of the forest one day and encounter, like, ancient Babylon or something like that.
Yeah, or even further.
What? So they're like in a cave, and then they walk out and they encounter like the Empire from Star Wars. Everyone else on this planet's got laser guns, and we've got spears. Actually, that's nice. Yeah, I like that. I'm sure Jay would like that too if he was here. Does anyone else have anything to say about Jay's idea?
Just what I was saying, actually, in general, a Stone Age RP game would probably be an interesting, probably an interesting one to run, actually. When the stone axe is the highest piece of tech you can have.
That's I actually yeah. It's interesting, the idea of just Stone Age role playing. It's something I think has been thought about. I've seen ideas for it online, but I've never actually heard of one being played. I think the problem about Jay here, there's not much back and forth able to discuss. So if it's okay, we'll move on to Chris's idea, which was I believe I already actually said it. Something about no, not Hungry God. Blood sacrifice. There we are. Chris likes his blood sacrifices. So tell me about that, Chris.
Yes, I seem to have lost my camera or something since I shared my screen, so I have no idea what's going off here. Yes, blood sacrifice. So yes, the players, or the characters, are the guardians of the Temple of Iaxathink. And the character's role is to protect the High Priest and, most importantly, the sacrificial dagger which is used on Midsummer's morning to sacrifice the chosen child. This is done before the entire city's population, and it's been done for hundreds of years with this one dagger, and it has to be done, otherwise disaster will fall on the city. Everybody knows that will happen. You know, everyone knows that without this dagger and without this sacrifice, you know, the sun won't shine, disaster will happen. And so the players are there, the characters are there, day before Midsummer. The High Priest disappears. At first it looks like a kidnapping, but then it becomes clear the High Priest has actually run away. And he's taken not only the knife with him, but the child chosen to be sacrificed. So obviously the character's job is to chase after the priest, find out where he is, and bring the knife back. And I'm going to do this before dawn or disaster will fall. Now the players, the characters, do catch up with the priest, and we discover that the chosen child was actually the priest's own son or daughter, which is why they fled. And we took the knife with them to prevent the sacrifice happening, just in case. But we get the knife, the characters get the knife back, and they're going to make a desperate run back to the city. However, they don't make it. They are too late. And of course, what happens is that you've got all these people, the whole entire city population gathered to watch this ceremony, which doesn't take place. You know, everyone believes it's vital for the survival of the city. So what happens? Shit kicks off, and of course, disaster falls. So and it's sort of open-ended from that point. You know, how do the players cope with that disaster? Do they try and flee and go and find a new place to live? Do they try to regain control? Do they invent a new religion to, you know, do the sacrifice? I don't know, but I left it open for the ending. But I just like the idea of actually they fail and, you know, the worst prophecy comes true.
This is the darkest timeline. Well, I like that. Alex is asking about going full Aztec.
Well, it's just kind of thing. If you've got that sort of thing, would you go for the full sort of the aesthetics and the location of your sort of South American type jungles and your Aztec sort of regalia and the step pyramids and all that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm riffing heavily on the Aztecs in doing this. So yeah, one possible thing would be to go, as you say, full Aztec. But you know, you could easily drop this into actually any culture with blood sacrifice. You know, any sort of primitive culture, or not so primitive actually, come to think of it. So yeah, it certainly would be an option if you had wanted that South American feel, which is an interesting and unused setting.
You could then also, if you're going to do it as a fantasy campaign, pull on some of the Aztec superstition and Aztec magics and animal totems and their strange gods and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say I would shy away from going full Aztecs because I can never pronounce the names of their gods and things like that, and there's just too many consonants. But I think, yeah, I would think it would make a great setting to do Aztecs or Incas or any of that, generic South American civilizations.
Maya.
And the Maya, yeah.
Other South American civilizations are available. Yeah, the thing is, it's a very solid idea, and I don't really think there's a lot to actually say about it. I love the idea that this is the thing is. You say they catch the priest and discover the child is their son or daughter, but it's too late. They're suggesting that you probably, wouldn't trust the players to actually not go through with it when they find out it's his son or daughter.
Well, it's. I suppose, yeah, you could do an interesting thing of that. If they're rushing back to the city and they. Realise they're not going to make it, but they've got the child and they've got the knife. Do the players do it? And does it count if the entire city doesn't see it? Because if the city doesn't see it, they're going to riot. So actually, that sort of throws up some interesting questions about the nature of their gods. Does it just have to happen, or does everybody have to see it happen?
Yeah, it's yeah, maybe. Your civilization ends, and that's the other question: is if you run out and you do it in the thingy, is did your civilization end in rioting and looting because it wasn't done at the right location, or was it the rioting and looting was done because people thought the ceremony hadn't been performed? It's quite an interesting one. Is it a self-fulfilling prophecy, as it were?
I mean, I have to say that's what I was thinking. Yes.
Yeah.
So in order, you've got the thing of it being like location. If you want to bring it back to sort of alignments and star signs, it's that particular temple from that square. You can see this alignment of stars in a certain way you can't see anywhere else. So it has to be there, which is why you have to bring the child back and it's tying it all back in together.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's sort of yes, it's when that first ray of light comes through the window and lands on the altar or whatever else. That's the critical conjuncture.
Well, I think that's all we've really got to say about that. So we're moving on to pluses and deltas. So I will hand you over to my good man Mark here, who will take us through pluses and deltas.
Okay, thank you, good man Pat. So plus and deltas. I'll start with myself since I'm here. Plus point. I will say that we had a lot of good back and forth discussions. So we had someone comes up with a good idea and we bat it about a bit and then we develop on that. It's what we want from this, and I think it's a good thing that we're getting onto that really well. We had a couple of sessions in the past where we tended to just go take it in turns to state what our idea was. Minus point, or sorry, delta for this one. We've got out of the habit of using the social media. Because I quite enjoyed completing the loop and going via Tumblr and Reddit and so on and Facebook, but we haven't made any use of that this time. I wonder if it's something that we might want to look at in the look at getting back into that in the future at the expense of having time to talk to each other, obviously. So that's my tuppence worth. I'm going to go for Emily. What were your pluses and deltas today?
Pluses, again, really like the back and forth, really like the ideas, and even though there was, still quite a few of us today, we didn't actually kind of go over things too much. I can't speak today. My deltas is that I can't speak today. And the thing with Jay was cool, but also very terrifying.
So how did you mean that stuff with James was terrifying?
It was just weird because it was like he's there, but he's not there. It was a bit strange.
Yeah, getting sort of messages from the beyond is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Someone's just going to have to get used to. Pat, yourself, how did you feel about it today?
I felt we got through some good ideas. Yeah, I think in a way my delta is some of the ideas almost like too fully formed, and we wound up like asking questions which either had already been or just there weren't any questions for it because it was just such a solid kind of this to this to this to this to this kind of thing. Pluses though, I liked all of those ideas, and I really want to just blend them all together into one mad adventure.
Sounds like a plan. Go ahead with it. Yeah, I see what you mean about them being fully formed. It's something that I imagine a lot of us find tricky. Is that once you've started thinking something, you go, "Ooh, that's a good idea." You're going to carry on. And I certainly don't like risking that I've not got enough written down for the thing. But yeah, okay, that's cool. We'll let's say leave lots of room for discussion in future. So, who are we missing? We are missing Alex. Are you still there? Can you hear us? Can you tell us what's going on?
Yeah, still here. Plus, I think actually managing to get the video link from Jay working this time. It seemed to be one that everyone could view and see. It's so good to actually be able to get Jay's input. The delta being it's a little difficult to feed back on Jay's input. With him not being here, we can really only just toss ideas around amongst ourselves.
Okay, yeah, fair dues. I mean, it sounds that is right. We can't feed that back, and we might want to do something. Whether we'd want to devote a bit of time next time where we send him some questions and he comes back with responses or other ideas. We're not quite sure if that will sort of dilute the session a bit. Kind of the special time for talking to James. Yeah. Sorry, Pat's suggestion in the text bar there. We get in to record random sound bites and we play them randomly. Or we get to record lots of words and we like string them together in a video editor to make sentences. Sure, Chris can co-sign that. You just kind of type in, make James say this, and he comes back and says some stuff. We should do that. So the last one for the pluses and deltas is going to be Chris himself. Go for it. What's your input?
Well, yeah, I just like the idea that we have a random J generator, and it could occur to me actually each week one of us could be J, and we just for that section we are J, and we just answer, and whatever we say is actually what J would say. So, but that's an idea for another week. This week plus, at least it seemed like the video actually went out, and hopefully people saw it. So that is great. Bad news is I now appear to be a blank screen. I don't know if you guys can see me, but all I've got is a blank screen when I appear. So I'm a voice of the void.
Google does, but no.
I don't even have that. When I talk, I just see the void, so that's slightly worrying. So hopefully next week we'll get the video to play, and it won't break my computer at the same time. So that's my pluses and deltas.
Cool. Okay. Well, I think it's all of us. So, and good points. Always everyone like the idea, isn't it? Delta point. It's there's a question there about be able to really kind of flesh it out, and also the tech stuff with James. But one of those is solvable. The other one. We need to look at it a little bit more. So I'm going to hand over to Alex just to finish us off this week.
I can't really how to finish off. So I think I'll just say to everyone who's watching, thanks for watching. This has been the Think Tank. It will be the next one will be up next Friday at 7 p.m. So you can tune in to see what we've figured out to be our actual next topic. So don't forget to hit subscribe, and goodbye.